today. There we go. Beginning Google Drive. Let's talk about Drive. There is a three-part series for Drive. This is the beginning portion, so I got to start somewhere, right? So many of you have been exposed to Google Drive. Obviously, you have a Google Workspace account. So let's just really get a better understanding of it today and start with the basics. First of all, what is Google Drive? Google Drive is a cloud storage service. It is what I like to explain it is it's stored in Never Never Land, but safe and secure and all those bells and whistles that we kind of worry about. It's a place where you can keep your photos, your documents, designs, your Microsoft Office files, and videos, and so much more. The other thing you can know is you can also access Google Drive on multiple devices, or if you are not in the office and you don't have to be on State of Iowa network, you can access it on your, that's right, your mobile device or your Chromebook or your computer, whatever the case may be. You do not need to VPN access to access Google Drive. It is safe and secure, and all you need is internet access, but on any device you can access Google Drive files. You could also quickly invite others to view, download, and yes, my favorite word, collaborate on files and folders that you want to. This is probably, I should highlight this word, collaborate, and collaborate some more. I always say two heads are better than one. That is what Drive gives us the capability of doing so. For example, Jolene and I work together on many files, and we both have different gifts, right? Everybody cannot be the same. She has her gifts, I have my gifts. And when we work together, it is so much better. And the way we can do that is within Google Drive because we can collaborate. So if you're hesitant, like I still want to use my Microsoft Word and I want to save it on the network drive, or I want to put it on my desktop, you're doing yourself a disservice. You're truly doing yourself a disservice. Get that file into Google Drive, keep it your Microsoft Word format, but at least share and collaborate with your coworker. The other benefit, a huge benefit, is that you have unlimited storage. If you do not know, we are Google for Enterprise. Google for Enterprise is the highest SKU you can get. It's the best SKU that is available for Google at this time. And we also get the benefit of unlimited storage. So that is huge. One other thing that I get a lot when I'm training Google Drive is, well, it's just out there for people to see. Incorrect. The files and folders you create in My Drive are private to you. Only you are the one that's choosing to share it, either by putting it in a shared folder or you decide to share it with your favorite coworker. Who is doing that? Not Google, not Google Workspace, not Google Drive. That's correct. You're making that conscious decision to share that file. It is all private unless you make a conscious decision to change it elsewise. So that's Google Drive. We pretty much know that, but there's some key points I just want to recap: collaborate, unlimited storage, and private. So those are three key words that I do want you to understand in that slide there. So let's think about this. What people find, I've done training maybe too long to count, but what I find when people get to Google Drive, they're like, it's just so a cluttered mess. I don't understand it. Well, I kind of aha moment one time. I'm like, well, it's actually functioning the exact same thing as what you're used to. So you're used to File Explorer for years. You access your documents that way, right? You go to your desktop, you access through the network drive, you find your pictures, you have recent, you have quick access, you have all those things that you're so used to doing in File Explorer. Guess what? Let's just sit back and compare it to File Explorer. You know how to create a folder in File Explorer. You know how to move files in File Explorer. Guess what? Very similar. I'm not going to say exact. Very similar procedures are done in Google Drive. So the other thing is we know that the File Explorer more has a flat interface and doesn't have like a pretty, or what do you say, or big material design. That's one of the things that throws people off with Google Drive. The thing is, you can get it to be more of a flat material design if you choose to by going to list view. And we're going to talk more about that. So as we go through the next slides, I want you to consciously think about, oh, I do that in File Explorer. I didn't realize that Google Drive Chrome Web Interface does the exact same thing, same functionality. And once you start thinking that way, you're not going to be so overwhelmed with Google Drive. Okay, so put that little cap on today and just compare on some of the things that we're going to discuss here next. First thing we're going to discuss, one of the tips is finding your Google Drive. Just like File Explorer, you will actually task it at the bottom and quickly find it. Well, in the Chrome web interface, you can actually pin that Google Drive tab. And that is just a quick right click on any tab, to be honest. You can, in this particular case, we want to quickly find Google Drive, right? So right click on Google Drive and pin it. What happens when you right click on a Google Drive tab at the top, you have the option to pin, and that gets rid of the nasty X. So you don't accidentally close it, and it moves it all the way to the left. If you've been at any of my trainings, I always recommend to pin for many reasons, because you do not want to lose, so-called, that tab. You're not obviously losing it. You just lose it in the many tabs that you have open. So right click on your Google Drive and pin it. And if, again, you can pin your Gmail, your calendar, your Drive, your Google Keep, your website for your agency. Whatever the case may be, you can pin any tab inside Google Chrome. Next thing, let's compare. Now, let's put our File Explorer hat on. In File Explorer, you always have your folders right here on the left-hand side, right? I love this feature. I'm a creature of habit too. Hard to believe. I struggle with change just as much as the rest of us, right? But once we kind of find the ways that it kind of functions and works for us, this is one of those things that I love my files and my folders to appear on the left-hand side. Guess what? Google Drive does the exact same thing. You just got to find that little magic little arrow right here under My Drive and expand it. And then it will populate all those folders that you're so used to seeing on the left-hand side, or your shortcuts that we'll talk more about in a minute. You'll be able to find all this. Isn't that the same in File Explorer? All your folders appear on the left-hand side? Absolutely. Are you getting the aha just as like I did? The other thing is you have the option in Google Drive Chrome Web Interface to choose Grid View or List View. Yes, not the same terminology as in File Explorer, but do you not get to change to Thumbnail View or List View inside your File Explorer? Yes, right? So you can actually change it to a thumbnail view, or you can choose a list view. What is your preference? I'll tell you my preference. My preference is list view, but there are times when I'm working with photos, or I maybe have gotten my names all pretty much the same. Which one am I supposed to be working on? I will then switch to the grid view, also known as the thumbnail view. Now, if you are on the slide deck or you're watching this video at a later time, I do want to remind you, I like to offer maybe too many resources, a plethora of resources, but when you get to this particular slide or any of the slides, you will see a tips and tricks button at the bottom left-hand side. When you see the button, that means there's more help regarding the topic, regarding the slide that we are on. So if you want to learn more about grid view and list view, you can always click on the blue button and it will navigate you to a Google Help or a Google Currents page that will dive deeper into that particular topic tip that we're on today. So you have the option of grid view and list view. Again, very similar to File Explorer, which is thumbnail. This is probably one of my ultimate favorites. So let's put the File Explorer hat on. Some of us maybe have used this feature in File Explorer. You would right click on a file or folder and find out the properties. How big is that file? Who's the owner of that file? And so much more, right? You would find that information by right clicking on a folder and or file and choosing properties. That's what you did in File Explorer. In Google Drive, you can actually highlight, select a file or folder. And then if you have the I screen open, this little I in your Google Drive, which we'll do a tour in a minute, will give you so much more information. It will give you the details. Where is that file located? Where is that folder nested to? Who edited it last? Who shared it? All that information. You not only have the details of that file folder selected, like I just mentioned, like you similarly would within File Explorer with properties, you have more. You actually have two tabs in that I screen that gives you the idea of who updated it last, who shared it, all that information. I can't tell you how many times I have gone to the I, someone said, who changed the permissions? I'm a private investigator. I can tell you who changed the permissions, fill in the blank, and all I went to is into the I, and I found out who did what, right? Not that you're trying to find out who did what and got them in trouble and be a private investigator. You're just trying to figure out what happened, right? So keep in mind that I have open at all times. So make sure you select that information, that I in the top right-hand corner, and you'll get the details and activity. And you'll see a brand new tab called Approvals, which we won't talk today about, but it's still continuing to grow with that. Let's talk about tip 5, which is reorder your files. So we know that Google likes to search much more than sorting. We've heard it many, many times. However, you do have the capability, just like you do in File Explorer, you know how to sort by file size or so much more. Now, I would say Google Drive doesn't have that much information, but it does give you the capability to reorder files by the name and last modified in list view. So you do have some ascending and descending order of your files and folders when you do that. You have the option again by name or last modified in list view, which is what the screen shows. You do have in grid view only by name. So you do have some options to reorder your files if you choose to. So in File Explorer, put your File Explorer hat on, you have what we call quick access, right? At the top left-hand corner in your File Explorer, quick access, which is maybe something that you obviously been in a lot, or you might have put it there in quick access, things that you want to obviously quickly find, right? File Explorer does that, right? Guess what? Google Drive gives you the same capability. They give you what we call filters. You have a filter called recent, meaning it's tagged in a sense, it is, that you recently have been in that file, obviously recently. Okay, I don't know how to explain it. Like the horse is white, you know, whatever that saying is, right? The other is that you get to also star a file or folder, meaning I quickly want to find it, and so I'm going to make it important by starring it. So that's really important. You have these options for you. Now, what I want to point out on this screen, because it's a better view than when we go to the tour, is you'll notice you have, like, on the left-hand side, you have My Drive. Some of you, not all of you, have Shared Drive, okay? These two up here, My Drive and Shared Drive, are true locations, okay? Then Google gives you a visual indicator, a horizontal line, okay? That horizontal line is telling you anything underneath this horizontal line, shared with me, recent, starred, trash is kind of a hit and miss, but let's go stick with shared with me, recent, and starred. Those are filters, okay? My Drive, Shared Drive, locations, okay? Big difference, right? True locations. Shared with me, recent, and starred are considered filters, okay? So remember that as we move on. The other thing Google Drive has, oops, go back, that File Explorer similar has, sorry, I got click happy. We love our paths. I call them breadcrumbs. You put a file into file folder A, you put a file in folder B, you know where you put that file. A lot of people, we're creatures of habit. Like I said, we go to that particular location and we find it. What a lot of people don't realize is that you actually have breadcrumbs paths inside Google Drive. For example, let's just look at this one right here. My Drive, that's the location. Now I have a folder called Google Help. That's my folder. And I have a subfolder called 2021 Currents. Then there's the list of my files. This is your breadcrumbs. You have that same feature inside File Explorer, right? It might be Network Drive N, and then it's folder this, then it's folder this, then it's folder this, and there's your list of files. That's the exact same thing up the top when you're locating a file inside a path, right? Not only that, what other people throw off, if you're searching for something and you actually are the owner of that file and you actually do have it stored somewhere in your folder infrastructure, good practice, good practice. We're not asking you to change that practice at all. We want you to have a good folder infrastructure. But if you're like, I don't remember what folder infrastructure I put in, that happens to the best of us. When you search a document that you own and it's actually in a folder infrastructure, you will see the breadcrumbs at the bottom of your Google Drive. So you get to know the path when you are searching for it. Even better. Not only that, maybe you searched, or maybe you want to know how deep of a breadcrumb it is, or whatever, same thing. You select a file, for example, in this example right here, you select a file, right click, and you have the option to show file location. Okay, that's 3 ways to find the past. That's just 3. There, guess what? There's another one. The famous I in there as well. So if you didn't know where this file was at, you would be able to find it in your I screen under the details. So that's really important. A lot of people just, I think what people do within Google Drive, they just look at the cluttered area where all the documents are, but they're not looking at all the options around it to give you more ideas. And if you don't use the right click, you're even making yourself even have a bigger disservice. So just knowing maybe that alone, like look outside the files. You're going to see a lot of help for you. So you can find the location of those files. The other thing is searching. Here's where Google Drive is so much better than File Explorer. Okay. So when you search in File Explorer, you're only searching the title of a document. If you're like me, I don't always name my documents the best way that they should be, right? So you really could be having a hard time finding that file in File Explorer, right? Google Drive has got you. Google Drive has got you. So you can do it many different ways. And Google just came out with something really, really cool called search chips in Google Drive. So when you're searching in Google Drive, you have the option to right click on a folder. So let's say, for example, in this one, I use Google Classroom for a lot of training modules, and it's got tons of folders, right? And tons of files. I know it's in one of my classrooms, but I'm just not sure which one is my recent one, right? So I can right click on a folder and choose the option to search within that folder that I right clicked. Didn't I just narrow my search down completely? Because now I'm only searching that folder, okay? Huge. And with Google, keep in mind, we're not just searching the title of the document, we're searching the entire document. Everything's indexed, right? So that is huge, right? Don't leave your documents. Many of us have untitled documents, right? But the content is important. Sometimes we don't always name it, right? Google has made a little tip with that, but that used to be a case, right? So make sure that you know that you can right click on a folder and really narrow your search down, okay? Next thing is we have the drop down. You have the option in Google Drive to drop down and fill out a form. That's it. Narrow your search down by doing that. Third option, we'll talk more about the fourth option in the next class, but the third option that just came out, which is very similar to Gmail, we have what we call chips. So at the top, if you just type in a keyword like Jessica's amazing, that sounds really good. You might not have a document called that, right? But anyway, you get the point. You type in a keyword at the top, and then that gives you an option to do search chips, just like we do in Gmail. So you can just click the drop down that it applies to. So we'll definitely demonstrate. This is a brand new update in the last 30 days. So if you haven't seen it, definitely use it, because it's just a matter of selecting the criteria that you want to help narrow your search down. File Explorer does not have that bells and whistles. Remember, Google came out with searching first. They know how to search, okay? And they're going to help you. They just can't read your mind. So you have to kind of narrow the search down. So that is the slide deck. Again, I just want to remind you, oh, I forgot maybe one more thing. We will, in Google Drive, we do have a little bit of settings that we might want to double check that our settings are correct. Most people, their default is correct, but we do want to go through that today. But here's the checklist that we will go over here in a minute when we start touring. I'm sorry, I forgot about these things. Shared with me. This is the biggest thing that people get confused on. If you don't believe me, Google it. What is shared with me? And you're going to hear the exact same language for the most part. Shared with me is a filter. And again, if you don't believe me, believe other Google users that are way more popular than I am, like Alice Keeler and a lot of other people, right? It is not a location. Actually, I didn't steal this from Alice. This is how I feel how it works too. So anyway, it is a filter, okay? So let's break that down a little bit more. Let's bring it down to a different terminology. Shared with me is a file or folder that someone has shared to you. Now, I am not talking shared drive. I am talking shared with me, okay? Remember that horizontal line I talked about? It's underneath there, right? Shared with me. It means that someone has shared a file or folder. Makes sense, right? So here's a question I get, and I'm just going to be frank and honest. I want to clean out my shared with me. It's got too much stuff. Here's the honest truth. Again, Google it if you don't believe me. It's a waste of your time. Do not do it. Do not remove a file or folder that's in your shared with me. Please don't. Okay? Don't right click on there and share it with me and remove it. You're not going to delete the file. In a sense, the owner has the ultimate rights to delete any file. Okay? But just ignore it. If you can't stand it, don't go there. Okay? Just don't go there. Okay? So let's go another way of looking at this. Think of it as a junk drawer. Okay? And now I did find my favorite pair of scissors in my shared with me junk drawer, right? If it's in my shared with me junk drawer and my favorite pair of scissors are there, what are you going to do with those favorite pair of scissors? Because you don't want to have to search for it again. You're going to organize it and put it in a good location, right? So you don't have to search your junk drawer again. That's exactly what you do with shared with me. So it's a junk drawer in a sense, right? But you find that favorite pair of scissors and then you're going to organize it. So in shared with me, you have that file that you always have to search for. And I want to put it in my drive. I will make it a shortcut or add it to a location where I know where it's at. That's organizing. But even when you do that, the thing is, it still stays with shared with me because it's got a shared with me as a filter. So you have to make that conscious decision to organize that pair of scissors, right? You have to organize that pair of scissors. You have to organize that file if you don't want us to always go to shared with me, okay? None of us get rid of our junk drawer, do we? We do not delete the stuff in the junk drawer. Well, some of us do, but we don't, right? Every one of us have a junk drawer. Leave the junk drawer alone. If you need to find that pair of scissors, you organize it. I can't explain it enough, emphasize that enough. Do not remove files, but please organize your stuff in there. So if you like, I want to always find this file or folder, right click, add a shortcut to Drive. And that's what we do next. And we do this a lot in the next portion of the training. You will learn how to organize files and folders within the training. Right click a file or folder, someone shared to you, add a shortcut to Drive, move to if you own it. You have to learn how to have a good folder infrastructure within Google Drive. You all knew how to have good folder infrastructure within File Explorer, right? Well, most of us, right? It works actually identical, okay? It just looks different. That's the key. It just looks different. It works identical. So keep that in mind. So with that, let's dive into the hands-on, well, this would be my hands-on portion. You guys get to sit and get. So with that, let's go ahead and go to Google Drive. First tip that I went over was what? I want to keep my Google Drive opened at all times. So what should I do? I should pin it, right? So I'm going to go to Google Drive. Google Drive is the triangle icon. And now I have opened it and I'm going to pin that Google Drive so I can always find it, okay? And how do you pin a tab? And I feel like I need to stop training this because I feel like I do it all the time, is you right click on a tab and you choose pin, okay? Now that Google Drive will appear on the left-hand side. And I already did this earlier because I am such a creature of habit. I already did this once, but you'll notice it's on the left-hand side. And I also have the Google Help site. These are my tabs that I'm working on all the time. So I want to be able to quickly find it because you can see I'm getting tab anxiety. I'm getting a lot more tabs open. So let's just go ahead and clean things up anyway. I'm going to right click. This is one of my favorite tips. Too much tabs. I always go to my pin tab, off topic, but this is what I'm going to do. I'll right click and close tabs to the right. I feel less stressed. Okay. So first thing we're going to do in that Google Doc, if you're on that Google Doc, we're actually doing the objective 1, which is understanding the Google Drive layout. So in reality, we kind of already did this in the sense of the slide deck. We're just going to quickly go through this so you can actually see it in the Drive interface. So we did step 1, which was tip 1, which is to pin our Google Drive so we can quickly find it, right? Quickly find it, like we can find File Explorer down here, right? quickly find it. So we've done step one, quickly find it. Then let's just start from the left and just do a tour around. We have a new button. The new button goes over all the things that you can create, like you can upload files, you can folders, you have Google Docs, Sheets, Slides, Forms, and etc. Make sure, though, if you're new, completely new, that you always hover over the arrows, because the arrows give you either templates or blank presentations or whatever you're doing. So make sure you look at the arrows and see what options you have. A lot of people don't realize that Docs, Sheets, and Slides and Forms already have templates for you. What else does? Microsoft Office does something very similar, right? Then you could go down to the More button. This is something a lot of people miss too. You have other things that you probably didn't know that was part of your Google Workspace, Google Drive, such as drawing, which is one of my favorites, and Jamboard is another one. So be aware of that. So the new button, you have options to do a whole bunch. Priority, we'll talk about in the immediate training. We will talk more about that. Let's go to My Drive. So My Drive is a location. So if you click on the drop down, this is one of those tips that I told you to expand your Google Drive. We'd like to see our folders on the left-hand side. This is huge. I even find this a little overwhelming in this area. So I prefer my folders to appear on the left-hand side. So just click on that little arrow and expand your My Drive. Okay, shared with me by definition, I hope if I was asking you in class, is that's right, a filter. It means documents that are shared to me. Look at this, for example. None of these I own. Keep in mind, I'm in trainer 13 today. I'm trainer 13. I am not trainer 9. I am not Jessica. I am not any of these other ones. These are documents that have been shared to me. We do not right-click and remove from here. And the thing is, another reason why that's a waste of your time is that it'll still show up in your searching. So don't do it. Okay, so don't remove. Okay. Go to recent. Recent means I've recently been in these documents. Again, you can see the dates on that. I was just on that slide deck as of 103. It's recently there. I can't tell you how many times if I get clip happy and I close too many tabs, I'm like, oh, what document was I on? I will just go to my recent and I'll be able to find it because obviously I was just recently on it. So recent, a nice time saver. Starred, you can star documents or files or folders if you choose to. So I'll go back to my recent just for example, and I'll star a document. Many people will use starred in two different ways. One, they'll make it so it's a quick way to find files. That makes sense, right? Or they can put them as a to-do list. These are my working documents. I don't care how you use starred. It's up to you. But you can open the file up and choose star if you want, or you can right-click and add to starred. So again, it's now putting the tag, it has a star on it, right? So it's going to be in the new filter, or not the new filter, but the starred filter. So then if I remove the star, it's no longer going to be in that starred filter. But you can see now I have that new document that I just starred in there. It's the same document. It's in shared with me as well, okay? All right, so you can star anything. You can star a folder. Just by right-clicking, you can choose star. You will find that I use the right-click all the time, which is a lot of people that are new to Google feel like they can't right-click on the Chrome web interface. Incorrect. Right-click away. You will find most things that you want to do by right-clicking. So starred is a filter. If I did not choose to have this document, maybe I'm using it as I'm done with this project. I don't need to quickly find it anymore. I need less clutter. I can just right-click and choose remove starred, and it'll no longer appear in my filter starred. Trash has changed in the last year. So if you delete an item that you own, okay, I said own like that for a reason. If it's a file that you own, it will be in your trash up to 30 days. Okay, on the 31st day, it's deleted forever. Okay, so keep that in mind. You do have the same options to restore if you choose to, or you can empty. It's whatever you choose to do. You have the option to restore up here or right click or delete forever. Trash means trash, right? We know that. So if you see that, this is my trash bin for my drive, which means my files that I own, okay? You cannot delete someone else's that it's not yours, okay? So keep that in mind. Storage we won't talk about. I already told you it's unlimited. Let's go back to recent just for fun here. So you can see a different document that's not in trash. So let me select, a file here. Okay, so I selected DCA immediate Google Drive documents. Okay, I decided I need to know more about this file. I don't remember doing this project. Okay, or where is it located, or whatever the case may be. This is a shared with me once. It's a little different. But when you have the I one select, this is your I over in the top right hand corner. This is your I. This is the I. Notice when the I is not on, I have more real estate. I would agree. But I want the I because it gives me so much information, no pun intended. I click on the I, and now I have this information. One, I have a thumbnail view of the document. That's helpful because remember, my favorite view is list view, which we'll talk more about. I can also see who the owner of it is. So in my case, it's my Google account. I also can see the permissions of that. Hello, I didn't even have to open that file, go to share, and look at that to see all that information. Right? I can quickly glance. It's the details of that file. As I scroll down, let's see what else I got. I got the owner, when it was modified, and so much more. What type of document it is. In this case, it's a true Google Doc and other things. Let's check out the activities. Click on the activity tab, which again, you will see, and it tells you even the beginning of a time. There was no recorded date after June 18th because it was created after June 18th. It was created on June 18th. So keep that in mind. It will keep track of all that. You can see Jessica created the item, edited the item. It has all that information. So if I was truly doing a hands-on activity with all of you, I would select a file and see what you find out with that file or that you have selected. You'll be able to find a whole bunch of different information depending on that file that you have selected, and so much more. Okay, you might see now, and this one is a newer file, this project proposal. There is a new tool out there. If you haven't heard about it, it's called Approvals. We had some training on it last year, so you can check that out. So that's a whole nother gamut that we're not going to discuss today, but you will see that on a newer document. But again, this one that I'm selecting, the project proposal, you can see the location, right? Because I am the owner of this one, I can find the true location of that, right? Have not shared this one, right? I can see a snapshot of it. I can see when it was created and so much more. I can even add a description. Does that not look like your right click on properties in File Explorer? It sure does. Okay. Now let's look in this view. Up at the top, we had the I. I don't really point this out too much, but you do have the side panel over here as well. So if you've been in my Gmail or calendar training, we talk about the side panel, which gives us the capability of accessing our files or accessing other Google Workspace apps without opening a new tab. So you can click on calendar and keep and task in your side panel. We did the I, which gives us the details of that. If you go over here, you will see that there's a toggle button, which gives you the option of grid view versus list view. So in grid view, if I click on grid view, again, not my favorite view, again, just depending on this, but that's where sometimes I change to thumbnail view in File Explorer, right? I need to see the pictures. I'm dealing with graphics. I might need to see them in this type of format. So you have the option of grid view versus list view. Now, remember in the slide deck, I told you that you could only sort by name in grid view. So you can sort by name in grid view, but you cannot in, you can do in grid list view, you can do by modified date and so much more. So you do have two different sort options. Okay, so be aware of that. So grid view and list view. Now, Google's only going to give you the stuff that you can do when you have something selected. So right now, I have nothing selected. So watch what happens up here in the top right-hand corner here as I select an item. So I'm going to go ahead and select this item and see what happens. Notice then it gives me what I can do with this file. Okay, I can share this file. I can preview it. Obviously, I can't delete it. I don't have access to delete this file. You'll have the 3 dots in Google Land, which gives you ... Google's got more for you, and you can see all the options. The 3 dots is very similar to your right click. Okay, so it's shortcuts. So I would probably, let's just right click and compare. So if you see 3 dots, it's going to give you similar and more in right click. So again, I can't emphasize enough. If you are struggling to find things, select the item that you want to do something with, and that's right click. And you will probably be able to figure out what you need to do. Okay. All right. So you have the same, you'll notice you have the preview up here, you have preview here, you have share here, you have share here. I know this sounds dumb, but that's just how it works. And once you have that aha moment, like I just needed to right click, my life will be so much better. We're not going to talk a lot about searching. We'll do some search activities up here. But again, we'll just do the hi up here. A keyword. This is how we do it in Gmail, right? We do not great practice. We just type in a keyword and hope we find it, right? That's not best practice, but Google knows that we all are creatures of habit and we continue to do those things, like myself. I'm not saying I don't. But then they have added, this is probably going to be really cool if you did not see this, but if you type, now you have search tips, very similar to, like I said, in Gmail, but now obviously what we use within Google Drive. If you want to search only my drive, shared with me, or starred, you can change location, you can change file type. I can't tell you how many times I know the file type that I did it in. I will always narrow my search down by the file type. I know if I did it in Sheets, I know if I did it in Slides, I know if it was a video. That narrows my search down, and usually I will find it with that information. So you have some search tips available. People, who have you shared with, last modified, and maybe you know you did a great job practicing good practice by naming it that. The to-do list by searching by title only. You also have to-do list. If you haven't tried the approvals or you've been commented on, you can actually do a lot of stuff with that to-do list. The beauty of the search tips is really incorporating what you already had. I hate to be that way. You already had the capability of doing all this right here. But for some reason, this little search options was just a little complicated. You have that same thing. It was just a drop down. What file type are you searching for, right? What location are you searching for, right? This is the same thing as a search tip. It was just a drop-down feature. Search tips is just giving you a little bit more visual appealing concept and not have to go up here. Okay, but it's actually the same thing. That's how advanced. That's how your Gmail works as well. Okay, so be aware of that. So if you really need to get narrowing your search down, bring it in through the advanced search option as well. There is a gear up here. We do need to talk about settings just briefly. There's not much in settings. Oh, we'll come back to that. I forgot. We got the help button. If you need help, let's see. What else am I forgetting? I'll make sure I don't forget anything. Help gear. You do have the waffle up here to navigate to your other apps. Oh, I know. You can also, like I said, you can right click on the folder on the left-hand side as well. And you can right click and you can see you have new folder, shared, get link, add shortcut, move. And the one that I said, you can search within that particular folder. So if you right click on that particular folder, you have the option to search. And now can you imagine you're narrowing your search down by a location, and this particular time your location, ding, 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 is the folder that you selected. So can you imagine how much you reduced your search by just choosing the folder infrastructure? So right click on a folder and you can narrow your search down quite a bit. So again, we're going to hit more on searching in the future. So that is a quick tour. Again, I kind of go over that pretty fast because we've already been in Drive for quite some time, most of us, and the slide deck is going to help you go over all those tips that we just talked about. Okay, so the next objective we have is understanding the Google Drive settings. I'm actually very thankful for Google Drive having not nearly as many settings as Gmail. So thank you, Google Drive. So we go to the gear and you will find settings. Go ahead and click on, I mean, this is, if you were following along, you would click on settings and most of you have it right. So there's no, oh, they gave you a new look. I always does something new when I'm training. I'm like, oh, that changed. So now it gives you a little breakdown of your storage in a nice little view. But again, we have unlimited, so we don't worry about that too much. So you can look and see how much we're using. Convert uploads. That's the first one. So we're under the general tab. Convert uploads is the first one. This is to convert uploaded files to Google Doc edit format. Have it unchecked. This is probably the only one that's really important, which I'm going to guess most of you have it unchecked. Keep it unchecked. Unchecked. What does that mean if you had it checked? Means that every Word document that you upload or every Microsoft Excel file would automatically convert to a Google Doc editor. We don't want that. You have it in a Microsoft Office format for a reason, okay? So you can change it to a Google Doc or a Microsoft or Google Doc or a Google Sheet, but do that at a one-off basis. Don't do it when you upload a whole bunch, okay? So have it unchecked. Check your language settings. I'm going to assume it's already correct, English. Now, some of you may want to do the following. Not a lot of people don't have internet access, okay? But there are agencies that maybe are going to a courthouse or going to DNR that's in a remote area and they're doing a presentation. They might need to have one file or folder, small, we don't do this for our entire drive, that might need to be offline. And then if you give that capability of allowing offline, then you can access that file offline and edit. And once you get online, it will automatically update. One-off. It's a one-off situation, right? So we would not select our entire Google Drive to be offline. That would be not a good choice. Not a good choice, okay? But if you have a case or maybe you're doing a presentation remotely and you just have spotty internet and you want to make sure you can still open that file without internet access, you need to have offline on, a capability of having offline on. If you are listening today and you're like, I want more information, I'd rather just talk to you individually on that, okay? Density, let's try that again. You can change it to different comfort zones if you choose to. The next one is suggestions. I would say for right now, make sure that your My Suggested Files in My Drive is checked and show suggested files and shared with me, okay? This is Google's artificial intelligence helping you to find the files that you're working on, right? So kind of just let them help you, right? As for the other one, make priority my default homepage. Let's hold off right now. And if you are really new to Google, let's talk about it in the intermediate training, okay? Because that's two different things and we just need to get the basics right now. But if you know what priority is and you're like, oh, I use it all the time, I would recommend you make it your default. If you do not, hold off and wait for more. But the other ones are good. Notifications, this will look different for each of you. I would just recommend that maybe just email, okay? If you have one that says chat, go ahead and keep that chat on. This is just how many more notifications do you need, right? This just gives you some options. You do want to make sure that you have the email checked. This gets all updates about Google Drive items via email. That means if someone shares a file with you or comments on you, you are getting notified. So leave that on, okay? If you want browser, fine. I don't even do that for Drive. That'd be too much, okay? Manage apps. This is more for advanced. We're not going to talk much about it, but if you are using other third-party apps or part of Google Workspace apps, you will see some other options there for you, okay? I don't dive into that. Very rarely I even look at that, okay? So general is pretty much the only one that you need. And if I went too fast, I do have everything that I just went over in my recommendations in that slide deck. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hit done. All righty, we are in objective 3. So it's a combination of shared with me and searching as objective 3. What we're going to do in this next activity is I am going to plan a vacation because I think we all deserve one. Okay, so we're going to work on this project called spring vacation, summer vacation. We are planning a vacation. Okay, and I am going on a vacation with my bestie Trainer 9. We're going on a vacation. Okay, and so we need to work together. Okay, so Trainer 9 might have different gifts, just like I said earlier. Jolene and I have different gifts, right? So we need to work together, and we need to kind of get really organized about these potential trips. Okay, Google Drive is a perfect solution for something like this for almost 90% of things that we're doing, right? We're trying to collaborate and be more efficient. Okay, so I'm going to find a file that I know that Trainer 9 shared to me. But you know, I didn't do best practice and organize it as I went. So I need to find it. Okay. Trainer 9 is not me. Okay. I'm Trainer 13. I should wear like a t-shirt and tell you what trainer I'm in today. I am in Trainer 13 today. That's me. Okay. So Trainer 13 is me. Lucky 13. I know I have a document out there, something about vacation. Okay. This is true life. We know we have a document. Fill in the blank, right? But I don't know where it's at. Case scenario, true story, right? I know I have a document out there and I'm just doing what we all do. Type in the word vacation. Let's see what comes up. Oh, again, I know you would probably have a little bit more files that come in, but we already kind of gave you some tips on how to narrow the search down, right? Using search tips or use the drop down, right? I know I could narrow the file type because I do know, like I said, I pretty much know what type of document it usually is, right? So I'm going to narrow it down by using the search tip document. Okay, now I'm getting down to less criteria, right? Okay, I'm focusing right now, though, in my head, right? That's how it works. You know what you're looking for, right? In my head, I want to focus on spring break vacation. I found it. Yay, it's right here. Okay, I'm going to highlight it, and I just want to kind of recap of all the important things that we have available right here. Okay, 1, we have the details because I always have my eye open, my letter I. I have the details. I have a thumbnail. I have activity. I can see that Trainer 9 is the owner, my bestie, right? And Trainer 13 is myself. She gave me edit rights. Okay. What else can you find out here? You can see the last date it was modified. You can see it down here as well, because sometimes that last modified is helpful because maybe you have multiple documents called spring vacation. Which one was updated last, right? So those are all those things that you can find out. Guess what? Those were the exact same problems you had before Google Drive, right? You didn't always have a great naming scheme. You didn't know who updated it last. This isn't a Google Drive issue. This is an end user issue. Now you just need to figure out how and what you need to look for, right? So that's really important, okay? Now, I want to get organized, okay? Now, this isn't shared with me. You can see that, okay? You can see the breadcrumbs down there, okay? It's not owned by me, but I don't want to search for it each time, okay? I'm cleaning out my junk drawer right now, right? I'm going to move that pair of scissors and put it in my drive. I'm organizing, okay? So I told you we're planning on a trip, Jolene, or Trainer 99, okay? So I'm going to use right click because that's how I do things. I'm going to right click and look at all the options I have. One of the options I have is to add a shortcut to Drive. So I'm going to go ahead and add a shortcut to Drive. You're like, wait a minute, where are you going to put this? Well, I don't always think in advance, unless you're very rarely do I. I'm going to put it in my drive because I want to find it over here next time versus in my shared with me and searching for it. I want to get organized and plan a good infrastructure, right? So I want to put it in my drive. I'm going to then click the arrow. I don't have a folder called vacation. Well, I can just go ahead and create one on the go. So I can actually go down here in this little plus button and create a new folder. Remember, I'm getting ready for my vacation. Remember, my purpose is to get ready for my summer and spring vacation. So I'm going to go ahead and call a new folder called Vacation Time. Now I'm going to click on the blue button and create a folder. Okay, so the blue button is going to create a folder. Now it says this folder is empty. Not anymore. I'm going to click Add Shortcut. So now a shortcut is really a quick way of accessing that file and having the capability of accessing it in multiple locations. I could put that spring break vacation in every single folder if I chose to. I don't want to, but I could. If I did put that spring vacation and just did that exact same process and put it in one of these folders each time, guess what? It's the exact same document. It's the same document. It is not copies of the spring break vacation. It is the exact copy. Okay? How awesome is that? Do you see that you're going to find less copies of the same documents if you're doing that feature? Right? It's the final version, right? So now that that spring break vacation is organized, it's going to be found inside my new folder as well. So let's just double check. Let's click on Vacation Time. And there it is. Okay, it's a shortcut. And now it has a new shortcut icon there for you. Okay, but it's the exact same document. Okay, so let's repeat that process, but let's do it a little bit different because this is another way of doing things. I want to show you multiple ways of doing things. So now, I also, before I jump there though, I'll come back to that. So now I'm going to search. Remember, I'm going on vacation. I wish. Okay, I know I have a document called vacation. Okay, and again, just searching keyword. Right? I could type in summer because I know my summer vacation because I got spring taken care of. Okay. So here's my summer vacation. Here's a document. Same thing. I can see the thumbnail. I can go to activity. Now, obviously, I didn't put a lot of work on these documents, right? I just put an image in there. But in some cases, you're like, I don't know if this is the right one, right? We have had those situations, right? I know because I've done it, right? But sometimes we don't. So what do you do when you're not sure? Another thing you do besides maybe the last modified still not helping you, you just want to look at the version, right? Well, then we open it up, right? We open that document up and we determine, oh yeah, this is the one I want to use. This is the one I want to organize. We're making that decision. I don't have to go back to my Google Drive and do all that again. I can actually organize it from here as well. Now, I'm trying to remember, if you're really new to Google Drive, what would you do before? If this was a Microsoft Word, not in Google Drive, you would have to file, save as, right? And put it in a location, right? That's what you would do. You would have to go file, save as, find a path and put it there. Guess what? Same thing we're doing. We just don't have to save anymore because Google will automatically save. So we will never lose any work again. So I can find a little inconvenience of maybe not understanding it completely, knowing that my stuff is automatically saved in Google Drive. So right here, you'll notice there's a drive icon there. This is one way. I opened this document up. This is the document that I want to work on. Now I want to organize it. Okay, so I'm going to click Add Shortcut to Drive. I can go here. Oh, there's my drive. What folder do I want to put this in? I want to put it in my vacation folder. And I'm going to add shortcut to Drive. That's one way inside here. You could have also went to File, get it, File, Save As, like the same concept, but we're not saving because it automatically saves. You have the option to add a shortcut. And guess what? It would not say another this time, right? It would have said add shortcut to Drive, but I could put the same file in multiple locations. So keep that in mind. So if you think about how you always did it, just a little different keywords, it functions very much the same. All right. So let's go back to the folder that we just created. I could just go right here. This is one of my favorite tricks. I don't like always jumping back and forth. I want to go to that folder I just created. I can do that right here by clicking on the little folder icon, and I can navigate directly to that folder here. I don't have to go back to Google Drive and find that. That is one of my favorite time savers. If you already had it organized, it's already in a folder, just go to that folder. What else do you have in that folder that you need? Oh, there's my other document. I have just saved myself at least 3 clicks, right? So let's look at this for a second. We have My Drive and Vacation. What is that? That is that's right, a path. That is your path. It's in My Drive and Vacation. And you can see if you expand your My Drive, vacation time, right? Exact same thing. Now, if this was in File Explorer, it would say, My Documents, vacation time. And then if you create a folder or file inside that path, you knew it would stay in this area. Guess what? Same thing works here as well. So that's what we're going to do next. We're actually going to start another folder infrastructure, and go from there. So we're going to do it wrong. We're going to do it right the first time. I'm going to do it wrong the second time. Okay. So we go to My Drive. Our next objective is to create a folder infrastructure. And how does that work? Okay. So we're going to change topics, and we're going to focus on training. Okay. Google Drive training is our next topic in my mind. I'm working with a project with Jolene, and I need to create a folder infrastructure and to work with her. Okay. So that's our project. So the first thing I want to do is I got a new project, new folder infrastructure. That's good practice. So let's do good practice. So I want to create a folder infrastructure under My Drive in Trainer 13. Notice I have selected My Drive. Okay. I'm going to click on New, and I'm going to create folder. Okay. First thing I do is name the folder. I'm going to go ahead and call it Google Drive Training. Okay, there's my folder. So now it's a brand new folder nested underneath My Drive. My Drive is a true top location. Okay. Just to make it stand out a little bit more, I'm going to go ahead and change the color. You can right-click on the folder, and you have the option to change the color just to give it to stand out. And I always think of green when I think of Google Drive. So I'm going to go ahead and make it green. So I'm changing the color. Again, you'll notice I just right-click 90% of the time to find what I need. Now, there is nothing nested underneath Google Drive right now. There's nothing. I expanded it. There's nothing there. But I want to put a folder inside Google Drive. Well, first thing, I probably should open up the Google Drive training folder. So I'm going to open the folder called Google Drive training folder. Now that I've opened the Google Drive training folder, look at the path. My Drive, Google Drive training. I now want to create a new folder inside here. I'm going to do it the right way first. The right way. I'm inside My Drive and Google Drive. Isn't this what you did for years in File Explorer? If it's in this path, what happened? I know I'm repeating myself, but this is like an aha moment for many of you. Then I'm going to either go to New and create a folder, or guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to right click, and it kind of helps me realize that I'm inside that space, right? It makes me feel better because I can see My Drive, Google Drive. I right click in that space, just makes me feel like I'm in the right area, and I'll right click and choose New Folder. I'm going to go ahead and create a folder, and I'm going to call it Jessica Trainer. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and hit create. Where did that folder go? It went inside that area. Okay. Now let's do real life again. I believe in training in real life. I got interrupted. I forgot what I was doing. I've been messing around. Got a couple chats, got a couple phone calls. Oh, I got to go back to my training curriculum that I need to work on. Oh, I'm in a hurry. I'm going to just click new. I know I need to make a folder for Jolene now. And, oh, bummer. I did it wrong. What did I do wrong? I actually put the Jolene trainer underneath my drive. No worries, we can fix it, right? So I can do many things. I can actually right click on this folder and move it to that Google Drive training folder, right? I could do that. That's an option. Did you know, though, you can actually drag and drop in Google Drive? Do we not drag and drop in File Explorer? We sure do. I can actually drag it from here and drag it over, or I can drag it from here and drag it from there. Either way, you have 3 options to fix your boo-boo. So I could have made a mistake because we all get interrupted. You're like, oh, I meant to put that folder inside that Google Drive training folder, right? I made a mistake, but it's pretty fixable, right? All I could have done, all I had to do was move it. I can move it by right-clicking and choosing Move To. Move To allows you to move files and folders that you have ownership to, okay? And in the same breath is that you could have dragged and dropped. You have that option, okay? So the other thing is, let me make sure, I want to make sure you know you can do all that, okay? And I could change the colors to Jessica to a different color and Jolene a different color and all those things, okay? So now let's talk about objective 5. How does sharing files and folders, and this is just an introduction. We dive a lot more into sharing in the next class, but this is just an introduction to understand the basics of sharing folders, okay? Because this is where a lot of us are doing this, but we're maybe not quite sure the impact of that, okay? So what we can do is what we're going to do is we're going to locate that Google Drive training folder, which I already have. We can see the breadcrumbs. It's under my drive, it's Google Drive, and then I have the 2 folders that I created underneath them, 2 subfolders. Again, we could always go further down, but I would consider the Google Drive training folder the parent folder, okay? Right? And then Jolene and Jessica's training folders are subfolders, right? Okay. With that, I also think we should include trainer 1, okay? Trainer 1 needs to be involved with this project, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and select the drop down, or I could right click over there as well. But what our action is, we're looking for the action to share. I want to share this folder infrastructure, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and click share. So now I am sharing this entire folder infrastructure. I'm the one that kept it private. Trainer 13 kept this private, right? But now who's making a choice to share it? Me. I'm making a conscious decision to share this now. Google just didn't automatically share it, right? I'm making that decision. So I'm going to now change the sharing. Who's changing it? That's right. That's me, myself, and I. I'm changing the sharing. And I'm going to make a decision now. I made a decision that I want trainer 1 to have access to it. But do I want trainer 1 to have edit rights, viewer rights, commenter rights? What do I want for trainer 1 to do? Because whatever I'm making the decision on right now, how it stands is trainer 1 is going to have access to the entire folder infrastructure, meaning Jolene's trainer documents and Jessica. As of right now, we could change that, right? So I'm going to go ahead and leave it as editor. I trust trainer 1, okay? I want her input. So I'm going to go ahead and hit send. Now trainer 1 is going to get an invitation to this folder infrastructure. Now, let's see if I have a document that I'm going to look for, okay? I'm going to search for a document that I know about. It's about training. Maybe I didn't do that. I forgot that. Okay, let's do. What did I do? I kind of changed my curriculum, and when I do that the first round, I always kind of mess it up. Because I like to change it up just a little bit because it gets kind of boring. We'll do this. Pardon me. Okay, so I must not have made a document. I will make one. Okay, so I'm going to make a new document. Let's do it this way. I think that's what I meant to say, and I wrote locate. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm inside my drive, and I'm inside Google Drive training. What's going to happen now is I'm going to create a document. Okay, I'm going to create a document. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to right click as I did before, and I'm going to create a document. Where is this document going to go? That's right. It's going to go in my folder. Now, notice it says create in a shared folder. Who's making that decision? I am. I'm making that decision. Yes. If I do this, that means trainer 1 is going to have access as well. How do I know that? Because she was the one that I shared that folder to, right? So I'm putting this document in a shared folder. That means trainer 1 has full access as well. Okay. So I'm just going to say, I'm just going to name it just so we have a name. I have to name it first anyway to show the sharing permissions anyway. This is one of those things Google helped us so we don't have 5 million untitled documents. J&J Google Training. Go training. Okay. Once I name it, watch my padlock on the right-hand side. Once I name it, right now it's private, but once I name it, it changed. Okay? It automatically changed. Why? Not because Google's just sharing it, right? I want to make sure that's out there. That's not what happened. Remember, Google warned you. You're putting this in a shared folder infrastructure. So you hit OK and you moved on. Then you'll notice in the sharing that you can actually see who has permission to this. So if you're not sure what you did and you're like, who all has access of this important confidential file, you can always go to the share button and determine who has access. Right now, trainer 13, myself, has ownership, and trainer 1 is an editor of this file. Okay, so it's really important that you know that. Okay, now the thing is, what you can do is you do have capability of setting granular permissions in a folder infrastructure. That means, let's just backtrack. I'll keep this open for a second. Notice here, I have trainer 1 and trainer 13 have full access of this entire folder infrastructure because I chose that. I kind of need another user's help on just this document only. Only need someone's help for that document only. Okay. Well, I can share one document out of here and I can restrict on the other end. That's the beauty. Okay. So notice right now when I hover over and I look at the eye, myself and trainer 1 has access. I think trainer 2 should have access to this file as well because I want her input on this document. So I can go ahead and add trainer 2 on here and I can give them view access, edit access, whatever. I'm going to give trainer 2 edit rights. I really want to collaborate on this document. So trainer 2 has edit rights to this. Now, just to give you some comfort and some understanding, trainer 2 does not have access to the entire folder infrastructure, right? If you don't believe me, let's just double check and make sure that I'm completely right. Is you'll notice that Google Drive, if I click on the folder, let's get off the document. Let's go back. Okay, so let me highlight the Google Drive training folder. Hold on, gotta get to the folder. I'll use a little sort thing here. All right. If I click on the Google Drive training folder, notice 13 is the owner and 1 has rights to this particular folder. Trainer 2 does not. Trainer 2 does not. So, but I said I gave trainer 2 access to that J&J Google training document, and I did. Click on that, and you'll see that trainer 2 does have that. So trainer 2 is going to see J&J Google training in her shared with me. So is trainer 1. Trainer 1 is also going to see the in total folder infrastructure. The thing is you can go reverse order in my drive too. Wonder if I decided that trainer 1 is giving me really bad input on Jolene's training to folder, but I want her to do it on mine, right? I can actually restrict access as well. So you can really set granular permissions within folder infrastructures in my drive. So we know that trainer 1 has access to the entire folder infrastructure, right? But now I'm not trusting her input, or I don't want her to have access to Jolene's. Or maybe I want to call this a private folder, meaning I want to keep my folder infrastructure the way it is, but I have one little area that just needs to be private, and I just want myself to have access. Can you see this like in real life, right? So how could I fix that? Well, I could just remove her from trainer 1. I can remove trainer 1 from this particular folder. And she's going to see the Google Tribe training folder still in her drive, but all she's going to see is Jessica Trainer and the J&J Google training. Okay, so it's really different on how that works. Okay, so you can, and if you don't like, you can hover over the Jolene Trainer folder. It's not shared, right? But I could share it to Trainer 2. Trainer 2 would then have Jolene Trainer and J&J Google training. Okay, so you have the capability of doing a lot of granular permissions within Google Drive. Again, in the intermediate training, we dive more into sharing. We talked more about a lot more about anyone with the link access, restricting access, sharing in groups, and that kind of sense. So I just want to kind of give you a taste of what's to come and kind of really understand a little bit. For the beginning Google Drive training, the purpose of the beginning Google Drive training is to, one, understand that it's not that scary, in the sense it's very similar to File Explorer. I mean, I can't explain that enough. It really is. If I bring up my File Explorer, and I don't want to confuse you as the users that are using Google Drive for desktop, I'm just comparing File Explorer as a tool, right? We have our quick access over here. We have our, let me go to desktop so I really don't screw you guys up. You have the paths. We have the capability of right-clicking and finding the properties. We do all those things, right? So it's very similar to what you've done. We have the option to search. Everything's just a little different location, right? It's just a little bit different location. But in the same concept, your folders are on the left-hand side. You have, it's just like, it's really a tool to access your files, right? It's the same thing, just a little bit different because it's bigger, is how I think people throw them off. Also, the other key that gets people confused is the shared with me, right? The shared with me is a file or folder that's been shared to you. You are supposed to have it. They gave you access for a reason. Now, your job is to organize those pair of scissors if it's important to you. And if you don't care about anything else, you're not going to go in there and start removing it, okay? Keep your junk drawer a junk drawer. Okay, unless it's important to you, you organize your scissors, right? Then you put it in your My Drive, okay? That's the other important thing that you need to know. The other tip that I want to make sure you're aware of is the I. If you're not using the I now, please be using it, okay? That's one of the aha moments a lot of people have, okay? And then I want to end, I have time, I'm going to use it. I want to practice one or two more items on searching on how quickly it is important to realize to organize your junk drawer. So I have some documents here that I just want to practice at the end and go from there. So what I want to point out is I have and I'm just using AA because I usually just make it easy to search, right? So I have a spreadsheet right here that says travel expense, right? I then, searching, know that it's been shared with me. Trainer 9 was the owner. And now, don't you think this should belong into my vacation time, right? So I want to be able to find this faster next time, right? I can still search for it, but I want to kind of get organized, right? This is not mine. Someone shared it to me. So this is a spreadsheet. I can drag it and add a shortcut. Notice it's a different icon this time. It's got the little shortcut icon. It's going to let me add a shortcut there as well, right? So that's one way. Same thing with this one. I could right click. I can add a shortcut to Drive. And this time I'm going to put it in my vacation one because that's my vacation. But I want to show you one more thing. Now I'm going to go back to this travel expense. We know we added that into our vacation time, right? But let's say this applied to the Google Drive training folder for some reason. And I want to add a shortcut to Drive. I can have this the same exact file, again, inside multiple locations. Let's prove my theory. So I want to prove this here. Okay, so let's open this document up. All right, now Google does not care about names as much as what you think it does. In File Explorer, and this is still important with Google Drive for Desktop for those that are using that. But if I go to File, Name, AAA, JJ, Travel Expense, if I have 60 million of those file types that name that way, Google doesn't really care. You're going to care because you don't want that for your searching and your organization, right? But you have to understand each document that you create, Word, Google Doc, Google Slides, PowerPoint, whatever you store in Google Drive, each one of those has a unique URL. Okay? So look at the URL of this document. It's got a long URL and it has a unique identifier. I think it's 16. I don't know how many characters are. But notice up here it has a URL and it ends in the letter 6A. So 6A. Everybody remember 6A. This is the document I searched for, correct? That was the document I searched for, and I decided to put it in 2 folder locations, right? It's the same file, but do you believe me? So let's go to Google Drive, right? Remember, I put one of them in there. Now, this is a shortcut, so slightly different. If I open this up, I mean, a different icon, but it's a shortcut now, but it's a shortcut to that exact same location, same file. And remember, what was this? The 2 characters at the end? 6A. It's the exact same one. It's the exact same one. All right, one more time just for fun. Let's go to vacation time. Remember, I put this down here as well. And no surprise to me, it ends in 6A. Okay? So that file is there. Okay? It's the exact same file in 3 different locations. All right. One other thing I want to point out, though, is I want to practice on like a PDF or Word. Okay? So let's say I have a PDF stored in here. And how do you organize that? Again, I don't practice this often because I get out of there. No, go away. It won't go away. I want this to go away. It like froze on me. There we go. Okay, don't leave me yet. This one's important too. So the next thing is what I'm doing is I'm going to search for a PDF. We store PDFs in our Google Drive all the time, right? And so how do you search for a PDF? Same way as you search for any other document, but you might want to actually narrow your search down by selecting PDF as your type, right? That's good common practice. Just give me a minute here. It kind of got all froze up when I was messing with that. So I want to go ahead and search up here in a minute. I'm going to search for another, a trip agenda, but this one is actually a PDF. So I'm going to go ahead and type in trip agenda. Okay. You'll notice I could choose file type. Let's go ahead and practice that if it's going to let me here. You'll notice I do have the option to select a PDF. So again, we know that it's not always going to be that easy to search, right? So I'm trying to give you like tips that really work. Obviously, this is a trainer account, doesn't have as much, but I could select trip agenda. Now, many of us might use the grid view and maybe start to look at it that way. But a lot of times we actually open up a PDF, right? Or Microsoft Word. Whatever the case may be. But it comes in this, depending on the type of file, it comes in this preview mode, right? And you're like, well, I don't really see what I can do. And a lot of times it does that. Like it disappears, like everything disappears unless you hover over in their corner. Then it gives you a capability of doing some actions, right? So now here's my PDF. Here's my, that I want to use. But I need to find this better. Well, then you're looking for the same exact icon. Even though it's a PDF, you can do the same thing with an image. You open it up, you're like, oh, I want to keep this more organized, okay? That works for you. You can click on that, and now you've changed the folder icon or the triangle now to a folder icon, and you're going to select where you want to put it. Well, remember, this is my vacation I'm going on that I wish. I can move it, this PDF into my vacation time, and now I'm going to add it there as well. Okay, it's still a shortcut to this PDF. But a lot of people have to actually open it up, make a conscious decision. Yes, this is important to me. I need to find this easier next time. And that's how you're going to do it, right? And a lot of people miss the 3 dots in the PDF version or in this preview version is what I should call this. This is called the preview version, okay? And so then you notice you have all these other options with the 3 dots, right? 3 dots in Google, ... Google has more for you. Okay. And that's really the 3 dots equals more. Here are more things you can do, such as download, right? Might be something you want to do, add a star. So again, practice some of these things with your current files. If you have a PDF, open one up, add a shortcut to your drive, right? Find a location, right? Or you're working on projects XYZ and you're like, I really need to find these files. I've gotten like 5 shared documents. Then do what we just did. Find that file, create a folder, put that document, add a shortcut. Then you're not having to search your junk drawer anymore, right? I hope there's some aha moments. I'm going to stop talking. Time's almost up. If you have any questions on what we went over here today, please reach out to me individually or Google Iowa. We're here to help you out. I really am so thankful for the amount of people that showed up today because Google Drive is the most sought out, ask question app that we get. And really, it takes just a little bit of time just to understand it. I really try to break it down. So like, this is what you're used to doing. This is how you should do it. Not used to doing, but this is how it works in Drive. You'll notice that it almost works identical, not exact, but close, okay? And once you see that, you're gonna have a lot more, I got it. Thank you, I hope. Anyway, I hope to see all of you at the immediate training next week on Tuesday, and then the advanced one, which we'll talk more about Google Drive for desktop, which I know a lot of agencies have switched to that. And that is a must-to, have to, if you really are struggling, because you have to understand the 2 different destinations. With that, let me know if there's any questions. With that, have a great day, and thanks for joining today.